3 months after starting my journey in Prudhoe Bay, Alaska, I caught the ferry from Vancouver Island to Port Angeles in Washington. I had hoped to see orca on my ferry crossing since there are many in the area, however I didn't spot any. When I arrived into Port Angeles, I quickly did a supply run in a supermarket and sorted myself out with an eSIM before heading out to try to find somewhere to camp. Whilst I was making progress through Washington, a car stopped and a man got out to talk to me. The man, Hanno, kindly offered me a place to pitch my tent on his property, so I followed him and his family to their house. It was an amazing start to this leg of the journey.
Yeah, I'm very good, thank you. How are you? So I'm back in the USA now. Yesterday I got the ferry from Victoria to Port Angeles, and I was a little bit slow in leaving Port Angeles. I met a cycle tourist in the town and got talking to him for a couple of hours, and made my way towards Lake Crescent. I wasn't 100% sure where I was going to camp, and it was starting to get late in the day as well. It was sort of mid-afternoon anyway. And then this car pulls up and asks me if I need somewhere to camp or somewhere to stay for the night. And I said, yeah, sure. So I ended up staying here with Hanno and Sherry Ann. And Hanno said to me, do you want to go out in kayak? So I said, yes, sure, let's go out. So we went out into the sea with some kayaks, and regrettably I didn't take my GoPro, and we saw seals and loads of birds and lots of magnificent coves and the mountains, and two groups of orca just came right by us. It was like absolutely incredible. I was so close to buying a whale watching tour, but it was a bit out of my budget, so I hoped to see them on the ferry, didn't see them. And then yesterday's adventure, I was within 10 meters of 5 of them in the first group, and then the second group were a little bit further away. Absolutely incredible. And I'm so gutted that I didn't take my camera with me. But yeah, you just can't plan what kind of adventures you stumble upon. And yeah, it's been awesome.
An avid cyclist himself, Hanno rode with me the following day along the Olympic Discovery Trail past Lake Crescent up to Beaver. It was nice of Hanno to show me a cycling route that he frequents, including Joyce General Store, which is the oldest general store in Washington state. On the coast, I caught up with Alex and Tom. They also started in Prudhoe Bay and were heading to Argentina, so we decided to ride together for a while.
The Oregon coast has been absolutely beautiful. I prefer it a lot to the Washington coast. I found that, for most of the sites in Washington were along the Olympic Discovery Trail, and regrettably I rushed through those with the intention of giving myself a bit more time to enjoy the coast later on. But you couldn't really get to the coast in Washington that easily, so that was a bit of an error. But yeah, this coast of Oregon is really, really stunning. So I got to the top of Cape Foulweather, which was the big climb before I descend into Newport, where I'm finishing today. I'm having a shorter day because I don't really feel that great. I feel quite tired and just in need of a rest day, so tomorrow I'm going to rest. Which is good because tomorrow there happens to be a storm coming in. There's a gnarly headwind today in anticipation of the storm. Anyway, I descended down from Cape Foulweather and got to the bottom of quite a big descent from the top, and had to stop because there's power lines that have fallen and I can't cross, so I now have to climb all the way to the bloody top again to then go down the 101, which is going to be a busy, shitty road. Really not in high spirits right now. Could do without this. But at least it's not a big day. And I suppose I've got a bit of a tailwind behind me when I'm exposed to this coast, but there's a lot of cover. Last night we stayed in these sand dunes, and a guy who's responsible for the conservation here found us last night. It was pretty cool though.
What's up, everybody?
Oh, scared me.
Oh, I'm sorry, man. That's a blooper.
Oh my god, yeah. What was I saying?
I don't know. I was just
So the guy was more concerned with conservation and that we weren't like just going to be living here for a few days. And explained that these sand dunes are pretty important in the area. They're one of the few places where there's ancient growth here, and yeah, it's a pretty cool place. I'm currently in the Redwoods in California, and just wanted to kind of give my perspective on the road along the coast through Washington and Oregon, and so far in California. So in Washington, I found the traffic to be pretty bad, but it wasn't too crazy apart from the last stretch just before we crossed over to Astoria. There was about a 20 kilometer section where we were getting a lot of close passes and people rolling coal at us and just putting their middle finger up at us as they were passing us. So that was a bit of a dampener on the mood. The bridge over to Astoria was actually not that bad, so I guess we must have had the rush hour leading up to the bridge, and then on the actual bridge itself it was relatively quiet, to be honest, and that was the bit that I was dreading the most. And then afterwards, along the Oregon coast, the scenery was beautiful. The campsites, the hiker-biker campsites were really good as well. But the traffic was a lot worse. I feel like it was road dependent, so where there wasn't much shoulder, it was a lot worse. I kind of felt like we were in the face of drivers a bit more and maybe irritating them a bit more. So they were almost retaliating, which is a bit disappointing because us riding bicycles isn't necessarily the problem. The problem is the lack of infrastructure. So my view is they should really be getting angry at the Department of Transport or whoever makes the roads and campaign for somewhere to take the bicycles off the road and on somewhere better. And I think everyone would be happy with that. But I guess I'm maybe being naive there. You know, people don't really want to pay their taxes and have that go to facilities that they won't necessarily use. The bridge crossing over to North Bend was by far the worst that I experienced on the entire road, and the problem was that maybe it was a bit busy when I crossed, but it's quite a steep bridge that you've got to climb. We kept a pretty good pace, to be honest with you, but there was a lot of oncoming traffic, so people couldn't pass us because there wasn't enough space, and I was taking the lane to stop people from trying to squeeze past. So I guess maybe I antagonized people a little bit, but obviously they have a responsibility to pass people when it's safe to do so, and many people do, but it seems like there's a large proportion of people who just give punishment passes, so very close passes. They beep at us, and the worst that I had was on that bridge, and this guy passed me within inches, and then his trailer passed me, which was even closer, and that was ridiculous. I can't believe I didn't have my camera on for it. I'd literally turned my camera off like a moment before. But yeah, he passed us within inches and dropped his gears and ended up covering us in a cloud of smoke, and then just went off into the sunset. Then we just got to the crest of the hill on the bridge, so had a bit of a descent, and I tried to catch up with him, but I didn't have any luck. But in the meantime, 2 other cars close past me as well. Yeah. But on the whole, I've just been very disappointed with the mindset of the drivers here. I feel like when I meet people face to face, everyone's always very friendly and lovely. But when people are in their cars, it seems like cyclists are dehumanized. And I feel like I've been warned about it, but I always take negative opinions with a grain of salt. And I was just disappointed. You know, I really want to enjoy my time here in the US. I hear a lot of good things about the hospitality and the welcoming nature of people from the US, but because I'm on the road a lot, I get to experience that, and I get to experience that animosity towards cyclists, and it's really difficult to overlook it. And as such, once I get to San Francisco, my plan is to leave the coast road, because I've just had enough of the traffic, and I'm going to head inland, and hopefully I'll have a better time. In California, I feel like the driving has been better, but I think that's more because there's been better shoulders on the roads, and I feel like if there wasn't a shoulder and I was in the lane, or forced to be in the traffic lane, then it would just be the same story again. But yeah, it's incredibly disappointing that this is the scenario. So yeah, I guess this will be the end of that. I guess this will be the end of the video, and I'll make another one for the inland portion of the US. But yeah, I'm just very disappointed, and I just feel like it's such a shame that this is the situation, and it's just senseless, you know? I hate that it's marred my experience here so much.
So I'm here at the Redwood forests in California, and this place is just absolutely remarkable. When I was thinking of this place before I came here, I was just expecting to just have the impression of like just some big trees. But getting here and being around these trees, you just see how massive they are, both in girth and their height. And they just completely tower above you. And it's just difficult not to be awestruck by them. This is my second day having a rest day in the lower 48, and it's allowed me to have some extra time in these redwood forests so that I can stop and explore, and I do not regret that decision one bit. I had an inkling that I would maybe want to spend a bit of time here to explore it properly, and I was right. So yeah.
it's astonishing that I started in the Arctic Circle and in a region where I was so far north that trees couldn't survive, and then I proceeded south and saw the first spruce trees, and they were small, and trees have just gradually been getting bigger and bigger, and now here I am at the Redwoods. It seems to be like the pinnacle, you know. It's just such a stark change, you know, and it's been interesting. It's just been interesting. I don't really have any good words for it. But yeah, it's magnificent. So that has to be, I think, my favourite descent of the trip so far. It just had everything. It was through redwood forests, and the road was really windy, so I got to sort of zip back and forth. There were no cars coming in my direction, and there was also a mountain bike race where there was a lot of people climbing up against me, and everyone was cheering me on and I was cheering them on, and yeah, it was just awesome. I was able to see, like, I was able to see in the distance where there was like a bit of cloud inversion, which I ended up going through. Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah, you might be able to see the mountain bike. You might be able to see the mountain bikers. However, I did mount my camera on the right hand side of my bike, so the angle's not great for that. I mounted it that side because I'm going to be on the coast soon, and that's where the views are going to be. But yeah, it was just so awesome. What a rush, eh? So I've got to the end of the Pacific coast. Well, of course it goes further south than this, but this is the last stretch of coastal riding that I'm going to be doing. Because after San Francisco, my plan is to go inland, so that'll be on the next video. So this concludes the coastal portion of my trip in the US. But yeah, now I just get to cross that bridge. It's not very golden, I'll be honest with you. It looks more red. Kind of like a brick red colour. But, you know, I'm sure there's another reason for that. Naming. Yeah, just got to get across, and I'm going to meet my brother and chill out for a few days before continue on. So, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one if you hang about and all of that stuff. Alright, cheers.